Tony D and Little Joan here with a screenwriter's rant on River Road, a Canadian movie about drugs and romance. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 8. Free on Kindle Unlimited, Joan. It's free. Anyhow, River Road's got a very retro look to it, doesn't it? I wonder if it takes place in the 80s. It might take place in the 80s. It doesn't say that specifically. It's kind of hard to tell. It is a Canadian movie because it does expressly talk about being in Canada. Got a very 80s look to the production logo as well, Tallgrass Films. So the basic premise is Trevor meets Zoe, and one or both of them become drug addicts. I think he becomes the drug addict. He's a guitarist in a band, and they both become drug addicts so bad that they run out of money, they get involved with bad people, and they end up robbing places to support their habit, which, is not going to end well. I'll say this, it seems to be a low-budget movie, and they're trying their damnedest to make it exciting. And it doesn't look unexciting. It looks pretty good. It's got some good production values, as they say. It's got some good cast. They got this guy who's a crazy dealer. The leads are pretty good looking, which, in Canada, it's kind of an issue with some of the leads. Some of the leads, you would see them in a Canadian production or a production overseas, and you'd be like, should this guy be the lead? He doesn't seem handsome enough to be the lead, if you know what I mean. But that's what I sort of like about Canadian and foreign productions. People look different than here. They kind of all look the same. But this one seems to have a pair of leads. They both look really good. They both look like Hollywood actors, I think. And so the plot is pretty good. I mean, the first act would be they meet, they fall in love, and they start taking heroin. One gets talked into it by the other. I think the guy gets talked into it. And that's the first act, basically. Their lives are going great. He's a up-and-coming rock star. Then he meets this girl, and then suddenly they're doing heroin all the time. And they quickly run out of money. Written and directed by Rob Wiley. I love the aesthetics on your credits, I'll tell you that. It's very 80s. But I don't think it takes place in the 80s, so it might, but I don't know. The clothes and the hair don't scream 80s to me, but it might. It doesn't scream any particular time. When people put movies in the 80s, they slam every 80s fashion and hair trend in it. This one doesn't have that, but it doesn't have a particularly modern look, and I don't think I saw any cell phones. I didn't see any regular phones either, so it's kind of hard to tell. And heroin, it's been around forever. So the second act, they're doing heroin, and their friends are kind of concerned. They spend so much time together. Next thing you know, they're out of money and they're getting desperate. They probably start stealing from their friends. They alienate everybody. She becomes angry junkie girl. We gotta get money, man. We gotta get money. Next thing you know, they're robbing places. And that, at first works. They get the money, they get their drugs, they get their fix. But it's unsustainable, right? Pretty soon, things start catching up to them, but they're insanely in love. Meanwhile, his career's falling apart. Whatever career she might have's falling apart. Everything's falling apart. Next thing you know, they're up in the ante. They're robbing drug dealers. They rob the wrong people, and then, maybe he's got to get money to save her, or maybe they both die. I don't know. It's definitely going to end tragically, I think. It seems to be, rarely do these movies end up, they get help and then they get off of drugs, the end. No, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like a movie that's going to end in a climax where they both end up in a shootout and end up dying, or one dies and then the other one tries to get revenge and then dies too. Kind kind of a movie basically saying this is what happens to you when you take drugs. It's not a bad foray here for a low budget movie. It's got a look. It's got some attractive leads. It's got stuff going on, which I like. So it feels, now the plot is a little just sort of there. It's not particularly, I'm not getting the details that make it different from another movie like this. But that being said, there might be more to it. If there is, it's not really coming across in the trailer. You know, the nitty gritty details. I'm seeing some of it visually because I'm seeing them, you know, turn into armed robbers. But I'd be interested to know the details behind that. Like, does it happen immediately? Is that the end of the movie? Like, you know, what exactly initiates that and why? Because it seems like he is at least a competent enough guitarist that he's on stage playing, which means he does have some money. And is it easier to rob? Is it different to rob people in Canada? Is it easier to get guns? Like, what's the, you know, that would be the reason I would watch this movie, kind of, because, like, if they made it in America, it would, you know, there wouldn't be anything new for me to see. The appeal for me would be, how is it different in Canada, right? Is it so that there aren't a lot of guns in Canada, so their crime spree, like, goes on and on, right? I mean, there are guns in Canada, but not as many. There's not a lot of gun crime in Canada, so do they become instant, overnight, you know, infamous bank robbers that are all over the TV? Or is this something that's swept under the rug for a while? Or, you know, what? Like, I don't know much about the underworld of Canada other than it sort of mirrors the United States, but less violent, maybe. So it would be interesting for me to watch. The broad appeal here is the tragic love story, I think, which always has some appeal. It has a broad appeal because I think women would enjoy this movie. A tragic love story about a bad boy that this woman tries to, you know, but then she's just as bad. It's like a poisoned love, let's say. And together, you know, they have a love, but in the end, the love kills them. And it's very Romeo and Juliet. On top of the fact you have attractive leads. For guys, there's action here. There's robberies. Guys are going to watch this movie going, oh, that was no way to rob the place. No, he messed it up. He should have came in the back. He should have got control of the clerk earlier, you know. And then in the end, like, do they have a plan to survive all this chaos? And was the plan any good? That's why I think guys would evaluate this movie. That the girls would be like swooning, oh, they died together, that's so romantic. And the guys would be like, he messed up. He should have got on the boat. So, would I watch this? Yeah, I might give it a shot. I mean, I assume it would be, I'm going to guess it's probably video on demand. It says coming soon, so they're probably looking for distribution, or maybe they don't quite have the dates yet. But it looks decent. Looks like a decent foray into the low-budget market. I think it would be pretty damn watchable. And I know something of the Canadian movie market, so I think this would do very well there. You know, the movies that have grossed big in Canada, they're, compared to the United States, very small, you know, in terms of their gross. So I think this is a very well-made movie, so that I think this could do very well in Canada. I wish it luck, and the crew and the cast luck. And I think I'll be keeping an eye out for it. River Road. Check it out. And that's it for me, Tony D. Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for our more based takes, including a Hollywoke hot take and a news blast. And we'll see you tomorrow.